On a serene morning in Mérida, Yucatan, Dr. Natalie, a compassionate and highly esteemed physician, readied herself for another demanding day. The quietude of her home was a stark contrast to the usual bustle, a stillness amplified by the absence of her husband, Grayson. A distinguished lawyer, Grayson was often away, attending numerous prestigious events and conferences nationwide, recognized for his exceptional legal acumen. If you are not subscribed, I recommend you subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss any videos. Despite the routine nature of her day, a profound sense of solitude enveloped Natalie, a void left by the man who was not only her spouse but her unwavering pillar of support. Suddenly, the tranquility was shattered by the urgent ring of her phone. On the other end was a colleague, an on-call doctor, informing her of a critically ill 5-year-old girl in desperate need of immediate medical attention. Driven by her duty and concern, Natalie swiftly gathered her emergency supplies, donned her coat, and hurried out. Upon reaching the address provided, she was welcomed by a distraught woman who identified herself as the child's nanny. Natalie could see the severity of the girl's condition and quickly began administering medical care. As she worked, she became aware of a figure emerging from the shadows of the hallway. Her heart skipped a beat as the figure stepped into the light. It was Grayson. He looked exhausted, his eyes betraying a sleepless night. The shock on his face mirrored her own. "Natalie, what? How are you here?" he stammered. Natalie's voice was a mixture of disbelief and growing suspicion as she responded, "I should be asking you that. You're supposed to be on a business trip, Grayson. What's going on?" Grayson took a hesitant step forward, his expression one of desperation. "Natalie, I can explain," he began, but was interrupted as the nurse entered, administering medication to the girl he was holding, Aurora. With the child now stabilized but still weak, the nurse escorted her to the waiting ambulance. As soon as they were alone, Natalie's professional facade crumbled. "Grayson, I need answers now. What is happening here? Who is Aurora to you?" Her voice quivered, not from fear, but from the tension of a heart bracing for an impending blow. Before Grayson could respond, the ambulance attendant announced that they were ready to transport the girl to the hospital. Torn between her professional duty and personal turmoil, Natalie chose to accompany the girl, leaving Grayson to grapple with the situation. As the ambulance sped away, Grayson made a hasty phone call. "We have a problem. My wife found out about the girl. We know the stakes. If this gets out, our reputations are standing in the city." The man on the other end cut him off. "This is disastrous. If people find out. We're respected figures, Grayson. The revelation about the girl could destroy everything we've built." Grayson's voice was laden with urgency and fear. "We need a plan. This secret can't come out. No one can know about Aurora." "I'll come up with something," the voice on the other end replied, resolute and commanding. "Keep your wife away from this. We can't afford more surprises." "Understood," Grayson agreed, his voice heavy with the weight of their shared secret. The call ended with a grim understanding they would do whatever it took to protect their hidden truth, regardless of the cost. A secret that threatened not only their personal lives but also their careers and reputations in the community. Aurora's existence was a hidden truth, kept under lock and key, and its discovery could unravel a web of lies with devastating consequences. Grayson was ensnared in a tangle of deceit that jeopardized everything he held dear. As Natalie monitored Aurora's treatment, her professional detachment was clouded by a gnawing suspicion. The girl bore a striking birthmark on the nape of her neck, identical to Grayson's. The resemblance was too pronounced to ignore. Furthermore, during her examination, Natalie observed the same allergic reaction to a common medication that Grayson had. The weight of the situation enveloped her like a dense fog, her suspicions escalating rapidly. How could these be mere coincidences? The birthmark, the allergy, they were intimate details that pointed to an undeniable truth. She concluded Aurora was Grayson's daughter. At that moment, Natalie received a call from Grayson. He sighed heavily and began, "Aurora is the daughter of someone I was helping." "I didn't tell you," because he paused, gathering his thoughts, "because I knew you would be upset with me for not telling you earlier. I was trying to protect everyone, keep everything under control, until I could resolve it all. I wanted to tell you, I swear I did, but things kept getting more complicated. I didn't want to burden you. She doesn't have a mother, and Aurora's father is alone. I support him. I try to protect the girl." Protect yourself," Natalie retorted, her voice rising with intensity. "Do you think you protect me by keeping me in the dark, Grayson? You chose to lie, chose to keep me out of this. How do you think that makes me feel?" Her words were sharp, slicing through the air with a precision that mirrored the deep cut Grayson's omission had caused. Grayson replied, "It wasn't a lie, Natalie. It was an omission, yes, and I deeply regret it. I was trying to do what I thought was best. I didn't want you to worry about anything else. Your workload is already heavy, and I just thought I could handle it all alone." "You thought wrong," Grayson, Natalie responded, her voice heavy with hurt and disappointment. "What you are doing to me. This hurts," Grayson, as night fell over Merida. Natalie found herself facing the moment she had dreaded but knew was inevitable. The dinner with her husband was a silent affair, the words exchanged only enough to fill the space, but not the growing chasm between them. Finally, Natalie mustered the courage to confront Grayson. "We need to talk about Aurora," she began, her voice firm yet trembling, her hands fidgeting restlessly. Grayson looked up, the weight of the secret evident in his eyes. "Natalie, I never wanted to hurt you. I was trying to manage everything, but it spiraled out of control." "Spiraled out of control," Natalie echoed, her voice a mixture of incredulity and pain. "Grayson, this isn't just about a secret. It's about trust. You kept me in the dark about something so significant. How do you expect me to feel?" Grayson sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I know, Natalie. I know I made a mistake. I was trying to protect you, protect us, but I see now that I was wrong." Natalie looked at him, her eyes filled with a mixture of sadness and resolve. "This isn't just about you trying to protect me, Grayson. It's about the lies, the secrecy. Aurora deserves the truth, and so do I." Grayson nodded, his expression one of deep regret. "You're right, Natalie. We both deserve the truth. I promise, from now on, no more secrets. We face this together." Natalie took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the situation but also a glimmer of hope. Together, she repeated, her voice soft but determined. "We face this together." Grayson gazed at her, his eyes shadowed with intense concern, fully aware that the moment of reckoning had arrived. "I know she's your daughter, Grayson. The birthmark, the allergy, they can't just be coincidences. Why won't you admit the truth?" Natalie's plea was drenched in sorrow, each word trembling with the weight of a heart desperately seeking honesty. Grayson sighed, a sound burdened with profound anguish, before he replied, "Natalie, I see why you'd think that, but you're mistaken. Aurora isn't my daughter. She's just a child I came to know, a child I vowed to help, nothing more." His gaze was unwavering, striving to convey earnestness, yet Natalie sensed the gaps in his words. "How can you expect me to believe you after all the lies and half-truths? How can I trust anything you say now?" Natalie's frustration poured out, every memory of broken trust adding weight to her suspicions. Grayson stepped closer, attempting to bridge the physical and emotional chasm between them. "I know I was wrong not to tell you about Aurora from the start, and for that I am deeply sorry. But I'm telling you the truth now. Yes, I care for her deeply for reasons that are hard to explain, but she is not my daughter. I would never lie about something so significant." His voice was pleading, desperate for her to believe him. "The similarities between the two of you, Grayson, are unmistakable. This isn't a mere coincidence. How can you not see that her voice was a blend of desperation and accusation, seeking to unravel the mystery Grayson was so intent on keeping? Grayson appeared increasingly cornered, Natalie's relentless questions piercing his conscience. He ran his hand through his hair, a gesture of frustration and confusion. I see the resemblances, Natalie, of course I do, but that doesn't change the fact that she is not my daughter. His voice wavered, hinting at the inner turmoil he was battling. Then what are you hiding from me? Why help this girl in secret? Why lie about where you were? All this indicates there is more to the story. Something you're not telling me, Natalie pressed on, each word heavy with the burden of breaking through the walls Grayson had erected around himself. Grayson looked at Natalie, his eyes mirroring a storm of emotions. I simply can't tell you, Natalie, not yet. His admission, though vague, was an acknowledgement that there was indeed more to the story than he had revealed. It's complicated, far more than you can imagine, and it's not just about me. It involves others, risks I can't afford to take right now. This revelation only amplified Natalie's frustration, her mind spinning with possible scenarios, each more troubling than the last. How do you expect me to accept this, Grayson? How do you expect me to trust you when there is clearly something massive you feel you need to hide from me? The betrayal she felt was now compounded by a deep concern, not just for her marriage, but also for Grayson's well-being and the mysterious role Aurora played in this convoluted narrative. Grayson seemed torn, agonized by the dilemma of safeguarding a secret while trying to salvage his relationship with Natalie. I beg you to trust me a little longer, he finally whispered, his voice laden with despair. There are stakes here that are bigger than either of us can comprehend right now. I promise, when the time is right, I will tell you everything. Natalie was engulfed by a maelstrom of confusion and sorrow. Grayson's cryptic revelations and half-truths only deepened her disillusionment. They had met in college and fallen in love almost instantly. Natalie believed their love was unbreakable. Yet now, after 5 years of marriage, that bond felt more fragile than ever. She had always dreamt of starting a family with Grayson, but he had continuously asked to postpone. That night, the reasons for those postponements began to crystallize in Natalie's mind, leaving a bitter taste. Why did you always ask to wait to have children? Natalie asked, her voice thick with pain and the sting of years of delayed dreams. Now it seems there was always another reason, wasn't there? Something you couldn't share with me. Grayson avoided her gaze, her words striking him like physical blows. Natalie, I swear it's not what you think. Aurora is not my daughter. I was just trying to help a child in need, he insisted, though his words rang hollow even to himself. Natalie's frustration was palpable, each word from Grayson amplifying her sense of betrayal. How can I believe you when all I see are secrets and lies? You asked me to wait, to delay our dream of having children, and now this. How can I trust anything you say? Grayson felt cornered, suffocated by the weight of his own truth. I couldn't explain before, and I still can't, but it has nothing to do with not wanting our own children, Natalie. It's complicated. It's about protecting everyone involved. He pleaded, trying to convey his predicament without revealing too much. Protecting who, Grayson? Because from where I stand, it looks like the only thing you're protecting are your own secrets, Natalie retorted, her voice dripping with bitterness. The silence that followed was heavy, a testament to the state of their relationship, now teetering on the edge of collapse. Unanswered questions, postponed dreams, and a burgeoning distrust threatened to engulf the love that once bound them so tightly. Natalie wondered how they had reached this point, how the man she loved and shared such a noble vocation with could have become a stranger burdened with so many mysteries. She thought back to the early days of their relationship, the laughter and joy, the shared dreams and aspirations. Now those memories felt like distant echoes, overshadowed by the present turmoil. As she looked at Grayson, she no longer saw the man she once believed to be her steadfast partner, but rather someone encumbered by secrets that had eroded the foundation of their life together. Grayson, sensing the chasm widening between them, took a deep breath. "Natalie, I love you more than anything. I know I've made mistakes and I've kept things from you, but please believe me when I say that everything I've done was to protect us, to protect you. I never wanted to hurt you." Natalie's eyes filled with tears, the pain of betrayal cutting deep. "Grayson, love isn't about protecting through lies and omissions. It's about trust and honesty. How can we move forward when I don't even know who you are anymore?" Grayson reached out, his hand trembling. "Please, Natalie, give me a chance to make this right. I will find a way to explain everything, but until then, all I can ask for is your patience and trust." Natalie hesitated, torn between the love she still felt for him and the profound sense of betrayal. "I don't know, Grayson. I need time to think, to process all of this. But know this trust, once broken, is hard to rebuild. And right now, I don't know if I can." As she turned away, the weight of their fractured relationship bore down on both of them. Grayson watched her go, his heart heavy with regret and determination. He vowed to find a way to reveal the truth and heal the rift between them, but he knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges and pain. The next morning, after a sleepless night filled with tumultuous thoughts, Natalie made her decision with painful clarity. Sitting at the kitchen table, a place once filled with laughter and dreams, she looked at Grayson with resolute eyes. "I want a divorce, Grayson," she said, her voice steady, but her eyes betraying the emotional tempest behind her calm exterior. Grayson felt as though the earth had been ripped out from under him. The word divorce reverberated in his mind, a devastating blow he never thought he'd hear. For a fleeting moment, he considered revealing the entire truth about Aurora, hoping against hope to salvage his marriage. But then, the images of the little girl and the potential consequences of the truth weighed heavily on him, affecting not just him but also her and others. "Natalie, please reconsider. We can't. I don't want us to end like this," he pleaded, his voice thick with emotion, but his words seemed to fall on deaf ears. Natalie had fortified herself, a shield against further pain and disappointment. "I've thought about it, Grayson, and I see no other way. Your refusal to trust me says it all," Natalie responded, each word like a nail in the coffin of their relationship. Her tone was final, the hurt and betrayal unmistakable. In the end, Natalie's decision to file for divorce remained unwavering. Grayson, shattered by her decision and the choices that had led to this point, found himself caught between the agony of losing Natalie and the dread of the repercussions that revealing the truth about Aurora could bring. Reflecting in solitude, he pondered, "Thinking of you, of us, was what kept me going. But now, thinking of Aurora, I can't risk it. But how will I live without Natalie?" Realizing he could no longer bear the weight of these secrets, Grayson picked up the phone with trembling hands and made a call. When the man answered, Grayson's voice was thick with palpable desperation. "I can't live with this secret anymore," he began, his words spilling out in a rush. "I've lost Natalie. I've lost everything. I can't keep carrying this burden." On the other end, the man's voice crackled with a mix of surprise and irritation. "Are you out of your mind?" he retorted sharply, his words cutting through the air. "You know what's at stake here. This is bigger than you or your marriage. If the truth comes out, it will destroy us all." Grayson took a deep breath, his mind racing. "I understand what's at stake, but I'm losing everything that's important to me. I can't keep living a lie. There has to be another way." The man sighed heavily, frustration evident in his tone. "We all made sacrifices, Grayson. This is the price we pay to protect ourselves and those we care about. If you break now, everything we've worked for will collapse. Think about Aurora, think about the others involved. You can't just throw it all away." Grayson closed his eyes, the weight of his decision pressing down on him. "I don't know how much longer I can keep this up," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "But I understand. I'll hold on a little longer. For Aurora, and for everyone else." The call ended, leaving Grayson alone with his thoughts, the weight of his choices pressing down on him like a suffocating blanket. He knew he had to find a way to live with the secrets he carried, but the path ahead seemed darker and more uncertain than ever. As he sat in the empty room, the echoes of a life once filled with love and hope now haunted by betrayal and secrets, Grayson resolved to find a way to protect those he cared about while searching for a glimmer of redemption in the shadows of his past. "You know how hard we've worked to keep this under control. You can't just decide you can't handle it anymore," the man insisted, his voice laced with frustration. But Grayson had reached his breaking point. "No, you don't understand. This secret, it's already cost me my marriage. It's stolen my peace. I'm not the same man I was, and I don't know if I can live with myself knowing I kept hiding the truth from the woman I love." Grayson's confession was a desperate cry, a plea for understanding amidst the chaos of his life. The man on the other end sighed deeply. "Grayson, think about what you're doing. Consider the consequences. It's not just about you, it's about all of us. It's about the girl. Do you really want to expose all of this after all these years?" Grayson replied, "I just don't know anymore. But I know I can't keep living this lie. We need to find another way, something that doesn't force me to betray my conscience." His declaration wasn't just about the secret, it was a plea for help, a yearning for a solution that could bring peace to his tormented heart. There was a long pause on the other end, a silence that seemed to stretch for an eternity. "I'll think of something," the man finally said, his voice softer now, almost understanding. "But Grayson, you need to be prepared for the consequences. Once that door is opened, there's no closing it again." The conversation ended with those words, leaving Grayson alone with his thoughts, contemplating the uncertain future he now faced. Could he handle the fallout of revealing the truth? And more importantly, would this decision bring him back to Natalie, or would it usher in even more pain and suffering? Grayson's resolve to confront the secret that had haunted him was a step towards redemption, but also a leap into the unknown. Aurora was a girl of singular beauty, her curly hair framing a face where large brown eyes shone with a blend of curiosity and innocence. Despite her tender age, there was a depth in her gaze that suggested an early comprehension of life's hardships, perhaps reflecting her struggle with the health issues that had plagued her since birth. From an early age, Aurora had battled a rare condition, a disease that affected her heart and demanded constant medical attention. Her frequent trips to the hospital had become almost routine, but she faced each visit and procedure with a bravery that astonished everyone around her. The resilience in her young spirit was both heartbreaking and inspiring, a testament to her indomitable will. Grayson thought of Aurora, her delicate features, and the silent strength she embodied. He knew that protecting her was paramount, but so was the need to reclaim his integrity and the trust he had shattered with Natalie. The path ahead was fraught with uncertainty, but Grayson was determined to find a way to reconcile his responsibilities with his longing for truth and redemption. As the sun rose over Merida, Grayson knew that the decisions he made in the coming days would shape not only his future but also the lives of those he cared about. It was a daunting realization, but he was ready to face it, armed with a newfound resolve and a hope that, somehow, he could mend the broken pieces of his life. Grayson had become a constant presence in these moments, a safe harbor in the whirlwind of doctors, nurses, and treatments. "How are you feeling today?" he asked during one of his visits, trying to infuse lightness into his voice despite the weight in his heart. Aurora smiled, a smile that lit up the room. "I'm fine, Grayson. The doctor said I'm as strong as a superhero," she replied with a glint of pride in her eyes, even though her small body showed signs of fatigue. The relationship between Aurora and Grayson was marked by mutual tenderness and care. He read her stories of adventures and courage, tales of overcoming and hope, while she, with her fertile imagination, transported herself to worlds where the disease could not reach her. "One day I will be the heroine of my own story," she would say. the determination in her voice defying the fragility of her condition. But behind Aurora's strength and resilience, there were moments of vulnerability when the reality of her condition became too difficult to ignore. "I just wish I could be like other kids. I wish I could run and play without getting tired," she confessed in a whisper when the disease showed its cruel face. Grayson, faced with these confessions, felt a mix of pain and admiration for the girl's strength, reinforcing his determination to protect her at all costs. Despite the challenges, Aurora had a contagious joy for living, a light that shone even on the darkest days. Grayson, struggling with unrevealed secrets and the consequences of his past choices, loved Natalie and didn't know how to live without her. Amid the emotional chaos dominating his life, Grayson found himself at a crossroads, confronted by the weight of secrets kept under lock and key and his unwavering love for Natalie, a love that now seemed to be crumbling before his eyes. The void left by Natalie's departure was immense, an abyss that widened every day, every moment he realized her absence. In Aurora, he saw a ray of hope, a light that brightened the dark days. But this light was also a constant reminder of the decisions he had made and the consequences he now faced. The next day, Grayson was having lunch at a restaurant when he received a call. "Grayson, I've been thinking about our conversation yesterday," the man began, his voice filled with urgency. "The situation as it stands can't continue. We need to act, and I believe I've found a solution. We'll move up Aurora's trip to the United States. Originally, we planned to send her next year, but given the circumstances, I believe it's best to speed things up." The man explained, each word heavy with the importance of the decision. "This will give us some breathing room and hopefully resolve things with your wife." Grayson felt a mix of relief and worry about the proposal. "But how are we going to do this? We need to be extremely discreet. We can't risk raising suspicion or exposing Aurora to danger." He responded, the concern evident in his voice. The man on the other end of the line paused, then replied with a determined tone, "I've already begun making the arrangements. We'll keep it low-key, only involving trusted individuals. The priority is to ensure Aurora's safety and to minimize any potential fallout. This move will give us time to figure out the next steps without the immediate pressure hanging over us." Grayson exhaled, the tension easing slightly but not disappearing. "All right, let's move forward with the plan. But please keep me informed of every detail. We can't afford any mistakes." As he hung up, Grayson felt a flicker of hope amidst the turmoil. Perhaps this was the path to reclaiming some semblance of peace and stability in his life. But the journey ahead was fraught with uncertainties, and he knew the consequences of their actions would reverberate through their lives, shaping their futures in ways they could not yet foresee. The idea of sending Aurora away was painful, but he knew that at the moment it might be the best option to protect her. "I've already thought about that," the man assured. "Everything will be done with the utmost discretion. We'll use trusted contacts and ensure Aurora is safe and well cared for. This time in the United States will be good for her, a chance to start in a new environment away from all this drama." The confidence in his voice was comforting but not entirely able to dispel the cloud of doubt and fear hanging over Grayson. "I understand, and Natalie, how do I explain this to her?" Grayson asked, the last sentence almost a whisper. The idea of discussing such a plan with Natalie brought a pain he didn't know if he was ready to face. "Don't worry about that now. Let's take it one step at a time. The most important thing is to ensure Aurora's safety. As for Natalie, when the time comes, we'll find the best way to explain everything," the man replied, trying to offer some comfort. Hanging up the phone, Grayson sat there, staring into the void of the place that once symbolized so much joy. The decision to send Aurora to the United States, though logical, weighed on his heart like lead. He knew it was a necessary step, but each decision that distanced Aurora from him was also deeply painful. While immersed in his thoughts, Natalie entered the restaurant and saw Grayson isolated in a corner. Observing him from a distance, Natalie noticed the tension in his shoulders. He seemed consumed by his thoughts, so absorbed that he didn't notice her presence. Seeing him so vulnerable, so full of worries, rekindled in Natalie a spark of concern she thought had been extinguished with the end of their marriage. Moved by an impulse she didn't fully understand, Natalie decided to seek answers from the only person who might have some idea of what was going on, Mr. Lincoln, Grayson's father, and a man of unwavering principles. Lincoln was a pastor, and as a religious leader, he was known in his community as a pillar of virtue and moral guide. Grayson's family was deeply rooted in traditions and values, a stark contrast to the secrets and lies that now seemed to surround his son's life. When she found Lincoln, Natalie was visibly shaken, the worry clear in her voice and eyes. "Mr. Lincoln, I need to talk to you about Grayson," she began, hesitant. "I saw him today and he seemed very nervous. I'm worried. He's taking care of a girl in secret, and I feel he might be being threatened by something or someone." Her words came out in a rush, marked by an anxiety she struggled to control. Lincoln listened with a grave expression, the weight of Natalie's words sinking deep. He knew his son well and knew that Grayson was a man with a good heart who would do anything to help someone in need. However, the idea that he might be involved in something dangerous or that he was being threatened was something Lincoln couldn't ignore. "Natalie, I appreciate you coming to me. I'm as surprised as you are. Grayson never mentioned anything about a girl." "But are you sure about this? How do you know?" Lincoln asked, trying to process the information. "I saw the girl, Mr. Lincoln, and Grayson confirmed he was taking care of her, but he never explained why. And now, seeing him like this, so distressed, I can't help but worry," Natalie explained, the fear and concern for Grayson despite everything still very present. "I fear what all this might mean, what could happen to him if he is indeed in danger." Lincoln nodded, a gesture of understanding. "Natalie, I promise I will talk to Grayson. We need to understand what's happening and ensure he's safe. If there is something threatening my son, or if he's in a situation he can't control, then we need to help him, no matter what." The determination in his voice was unwavering, a reflection of his faith and unconditional love for his son. Natalie listened to Lincoln's words, knowing he was a man of faith, someone who believed in the power of prayer and in people's ability to overcome their adversities. "I will try to stay calm, Mr. Lincoln, but it's difficult knowing Grayson might be facing something serious," she admitted, the internal struggle evident in her expression. "I know, Natalie, and your concern is a sign of your care for him. But remember, Grayson has a family that loves him, friends, and a community that supports him. Together we are strong, and together we can help him overcome any challenge he's facing." Lincoln replied, his voice carrying a weight of conviction. "And most importantly, we have faith. Faith gives us strength in moments of uncertainty. I promise you, we will get to the bottom of this. I will talk to Grayson, understand what's happening, and take the necessary steps," Lincoln assured, the determination in his voice projecting a confidence that Natalie desperately needed to feel. "But for now, it's important that we stay calm and not let anxiety get the best of us. Excessive worry can blind us to solutions." Natalie left the meeting with Lincoln feeling a bit more hopeful despite her persistent worry. In the midst of this web of concerns and secret plans, Grayson received a message that made his heart race. The time had come. The message was clear and direct, leaving little room for doubt or hesitation. "Everything is ready for Aurora's departure to the United States. Take her to the airport tonight." There was no signature, but it didn't need one. Grayson knew exactly who it was from and the weight those words carried. Grayson's mind was in a whirlwind. On one hand, he was relieved to know that the preparations to protect Aurora were complete, that she would be on her way to a new beginning, far from the shadows surrounding them. On the other hand, the reality of parting with the girl who had somehow become part of his family weighed heavily on his heart. He looked at Aurora playing quietly on the living room floor, unaware of the complexities and dangers of the adult world. How could he explain that soon she would be embarking on a journey to an unknown place, far from him, far from everything she knew? With a deep sigh, Grayson approached Aurora, squatting down to her eye level. "Aurora, dear, I need to tell you about a great adventure you're going to start," he began, trying to keep his voice steady and optimistic. Curiosity lit up the girl's eyes, and she stopped playing, attentive to Grayson's words. "You're going on a very special trip to a place where you'll see new things and make new friends," he continued, each word carefully chosen to paint the imminent departure as a positive adventure. As Grayson explained, he couldn't help but notice the mix of excitement and nervousness in Aurora's eyes. She was brave, no doubt, but the idea of a big change was frightening even to the bravest. "But, are you coming with me?" Aurora's voice trembled slightly with the question. Grayson felt a tightness in his heart. "Dear, I would love to go with you, but you'll have a very special person waiting for you on the other side. I'll be here cheering for you and waiting to hear about all your new adventures," he replied, the promise in his words tinged with silent pain. The time that followed was a blur of preparations. Grayson packed Aurora's things, each item a reminder of the life they had shared, however brief it had been. He wanted to make sure she had everything she needed, but what he really wanted to give her security, stability, and the constant presence of someone who loved her seemed beyond his reach at that moment. Meanwhile, Natalie, driven by a mix of concern and determination, decided to go to Aurora's house in search of answers. Upon arrival, her heart raced when she saw Grayson and the girl, Aurora, with suitcases being carefully placed in the car. There was a palpable tension in the air, an urgency in Grayson's movements that Natalie had never seen before. It was clear they were leaving, but where and why? The questions piled up, increasingly urgent, increasingly distressing. At that moment, Natalie made an impulsive decision, which seemed the only viable option. She decided to follow them. The journey seemed endless, but finally the car stopped. They had arrived at an airport. Natalie parked at a distance that allowed her to observe without being seen. Grayson and Aurora sat on a bench, and he gave her a hug and a kiss on the forehead. He knew that what he was doing was for her good, but doubt and uncertainty tormented him. Was he making the right choice? Would Aurora really be safe and happy in her new life? Grayson, hugging Aurora, whispered words of encouragement. "I love you. You will be amazing, Aurora, and remember, I'm always with you here," he said, placing her hand over her heart. Aurora hugged him back tightly before turning to embark on the greatest adventure of her life. Suddenly, the scene was interrupted by the appearance of a man who approached them. Before Grayson could react, Aurora let go of his hand and ran towards the newcomer with an enthusiasm reserved for someone of intimate and profound importance. "Daddy," she cried, her voice filled with relief and love as she threw herself into the man's arms. The embrace they shared was one of those rare and pure moments, full of emotions. The man had his back turned, and Natalie couldn't see who it was. The man responded, "Hello, my daughter," and knelt down to hug Aurora, addressing her with a tenderness that overflowed in his words. He kissed her on the forehead, a gesture so laden with affection and protection that for a moment Natalie felt like an intruder witnessing such a private and significant moment. The revelation that Aurora had a father and that it wasn't her husband brought Natalie a sense of relief. Then, holding the man's hands firmly, Aurora looked up with eyes shining with fear and uncertainty. "I'm scared to leave. I don't want to be away from you," she confessed, her trembling voice revealing the vulnerability of her young heart. "Besides, there's no one to take care of me there. I don't know anyone. Please, I want to stay here." Her words were a plea, a supplication to remain in the only world she knew, beside the people she loved. The man knelt to her eye level, holding her hands with a gentleness that contrasted with the complicated situation they, "My dear, I know this is hard, "And I would give anything to change the circumstances that brought us here," he said, his voice filled with a mixture of pain and resolve. "But I promise you, this is for your own good. We will always be connected, no matter the distance, and you will meet incredible people who will take care of you with all the love you deserve." Natalie, observing the scene from a distance, was overwhelmed with questions. Who was this man who clearly loved Aurora so deeply yet was sending her away? And how did Grayson fit into all this? The numerous unanswered questions wove a new web of mysteries in her mind. The undeniable physical resemblances between Grayson and Aurora, the identical birthmark, the shared allergy, how could these specific and intimate details be mere coincidences? As she watched the man from behind, a disturbing sense of familiarity began to infiltrate her thoughts. There was something about him, perhaps in the way he moved or the posture he maintained, that evoked a distant memory, an echo of recognition she couldn't immediately place. Natalie strained to get a better view, moving discreetly to obtain a different angle, but the man remained with his back turned, an enigma she couldn't unravel. When the unknown man finally turned around, revealing a face Natalie never expected to find in this situation, the shock hit her like lightning. "It can't be." She whispered to herself in disbelief, her legs trembling as the discovery shook her world, leaving her on the edge of an abyss of confusion and despair. "This doesn't make sense," she continued, a desperate attempt to deny the reality before her eyes. The man whom Aurora called Daddy was Mr. Lincoln, Grayson's father. Her father-in-law was not the man of integrity he appeared to be. He had a daughter outside of his marriage and was hiding it from everyone with Grayson's help. The image of Lincoln, always so upright, a pillar of virtue and morality in his community and family life, crumbled before Natalie's eyes, leaving her in a state of profound shock. "It can't be, Mr. Lincoln," Natalie murmured to herself, her mind struggling to accept what her eyes saw. How could a man who preached integrity and honesty and was respected by everyone around him have kept a daughter from an extramarital affair hidden? Natalie remembered the countless times Mr. Lincoln had spoken about the importance of fidelity in marriage. Now, those words seemed to echo in her mind with cruel irony. How could he, Natalie asked in an anguished whisper. When Mr. Lincoln finally turned around, his eyes met Natalie's, and for a moment the world seemed to stop. His face showed a mixture of shock and recognition, the color draining from his cheeks. "Natalie," he said, his voice barely audible. The gravity of the situation hung heavy in the air, a thick tension that neither of them could escape. Natalie's mind raced. She remembered family gatherings, holidays spent together, and the many times Mr. Lincoln had been a guiding figure in her life. The revelation that he had kept such a monumental secret shattered her perception of him. She felt the ground beneath her shift, her sense of reality warping under the weight of this new truth. Why, she finally managed to ask, her voice breaking, "Why didn't you tell us?" Mr. Lincoln took a deep breath, his eyes filled with a mixture of regret and sorrow. "It was never supposed to be like this," he began, his voice trembling. "I made mistakes, terrible mistakes. I thought I was protecting everyone by keeping this secret. I never wanted to hurt anyone, least of all you and Grayson." Natalie shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "Protecting us? You've destroyed us. You've destroyed our family. How could you keep something so important from us?" Mr. Lincoln stepped closer, reaching out a hand as if to comfort her, but Natalie recoiled. "Please, Natalie, understand that I was trying to make things right. I know I've failed. I know I've hurt you all. But I need you to see that everything I did was out of love, misguided as it may have been." Natalie turned away, unable to look at him any longer. Her world had been turned upside down, and the trust she had placed in the man she once admired was irreparably broken. "I need time," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "I need to think." As she walked away, the weight of the truth bore down on her. The man who had been a cornerstone of her life was now a stranger, and the future she had envisioned with Grayson was uncertain. The path ahead was filled with pain and difficult decisions, but Natalie knew she had to find a way to rebuild her shattered world. The recognition was immediate, but what followed was a wave of palpable tension. "You knew," Natalie began, her voice trembling but firm with accusation. "I was at your house, worried, seeking answers, and you lied to me." The accusation was direct, and Natalie's words cut through the air with a precision that left no room for misunderstanding. Lincoln, momentarily stunned, had surprise and denial dancing in his eyes as he tried to process Natalie's words. "What are you saying, Natalie?" I don't know what you're talking about," he replied, his voice faltering slightly under the weight of the accusation. His attempt to deny knowledge of the situation only served to heighten the tension between them. "Aurora is your daughter," Natalie then said, the revelation coming out as a breath heavy with implications and judgment. Lincoln's reaction was one of pure dismay, a flicker of discomfort crossing his face as he struggled to maintain his composure. Aurora, until then a silent observer, looked from one adult to another, trying to understand the words and tensions surrounding her. Her expression reflected innocent confusion, a child trying to make sense of a situation beyond her comprehension. "Daddy, what's happening? How do you know the doctor who took care of me in the hospital?" Lincoln, faced with Aurora's innocent question, felt the weight of the moment pressing down on his shoulders. He shifted his gaze from the girl to Natalie, seeking in her face some sign of how to proceed. He saw pain, accusation, and a desperate search for truth that left him momentarily speechless. "Daddy, why is Doctor Natalie here, and why is she angry?" Aurora insisted, her small voice bringing a new wave of urgency to the situation. Lincoln, realizing he could no longer avoid the truth, took a deep breath, searching for the strength and the right words to explain a reality he knew would change everything. "Aurora, my dear, there are many things we need to talk about," Lincoln began, his voice trembling. "Doctor, Natalie is a very special person. What you need to know now is that everyone here loves you very much, and we are trying to do what is best for you." He paused, struggling against the emotion threatening to break his voice. "You will board the flight, and everything will be fine." Natalie, standing there, felt her world spinning. "Lincoln, you can't keep lying." "Aurora deserves to know the truth," she said, her voice breaking slightly. "You owe her that much, and you owe it to yourself to come clean." Lincoln sighed deeply, the weight of his actions and their consequences bearing down on him. "You're right, Natalie," he admitted, his voice a mere whisper. "Aurora, I need to tell you something important. It's something I've kept from you for too long." He knelt down to Aurora's level, taking her small hands in his. "I am your father. I should have told you earlier, but I was afraid. Afraid of what it would mean for you, for our family." Aurora's eyes widened in confusion and shock. "But why didn't you tell me, Daddy? Why did you keep it a secret?" Lincoln's heart ached at her innocent question. "I thought I was protecting you, protecting all of us. But I see now that keeping this secret has caused more harm than good. I'm so sorry, my sweet girl." Tears welled up in Aurora's eyes as she tried to process this new information. Does this mean everything will change? Lincoln hugged her tightly, fighting back his own tears. "It means we can start being honest with each other. It means we can move forward without secrets." Natalie watched this exchange, her heart heavy with mixed emotions. She stepped forward, her voice softening. "Aurora, you are so brave. And now that you know the truth, we can all work together to make sure you have the best care and love possible." Aurora nodded, clinging to Lincoln. "Okay, Daddy, but please no more secrets." Lincoln nodded, his voice choked with emotion. "No more secrets. I promise." As they stood there, The weight of the past began to lift, making way for a future built on honesty and trust. It wouldn't be easy, and the road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, there was a glimmer of hope. For Lincoln, Natalie, and especially for Aurora, it was the beginning of a new chapter one, where love and truth could finally coexist. Board the flight to where? Lincoln? You are sending your own daughter away? She is just a child. Natalie's words overflowed with a mix of shock and accusation, echoing through the space between them with an intensity that made Aurora look from one adult to another, trying to grasp the meaning behind the palpable tension. Please keep your voice down, Lincoln responded quickly, a flicker of panic crossing his face. No one can know she is my daughter. It's complicated. Natalie, he continued, his voice now a whisper, urgent, trying to contain the scandal that a loud revelation could cause. This is absurd. Lincoln, how can you think it's right to hide the truth this way? And sending Aurora away as if she could simply disappear without causing pain or questions. Natalie couldn't believe the logic Lincoln was trying to impose on the situation, her mind rejecting the idea that the solution to the secret was to send Aurora away, a girl who clearly needed the love and support of her family. Enough. Let's put an end to this, shouted Grayson, the emotion weighing on every word as he began to reveal the burden he had been carrying in silence. I have taken care of Aurora in secret all these years, he said, looking directly at Lincoln, his voice trembling but determined, and I can't take it anymore. I don't want her to go to the United States. She's just a child and wants to stay with us. Aurora, holding Grayson's hand, looked at him with big, hopeful eyes. Her expression mirrored the vulnerability and desire to stay with those she considered her family. I don't want to leave either, Grayson. I want to stay with you, she said, her small but firm voice conveying the sincerity of her feelings. Grayson continued, we can't just send her away as if she can be erased from our lives. She means everything to me. Hiding her existence, hiding our love and care for her, it's destroying us. We need to find another way. His declaration was a plea. Lincoln, confronted with the pain and passion in his son's words, seemed to waver, the mask of certainty and control beginning to crack. For a moment, the weight of the consequences of his decision seemed to genuinely hit him, the internal conflict evident in his gaze. I just wanted to protect our family, Grayson, but maybe I was wrong about what that really means, Lincoln admitted, his voice low, a tacit acknowledgement of the pain his actions had caused. It was a painful admission, a crack in the facade of a man who had always prided himself on his strength and wisdom. Grayson, seizing the moment of vulnerability in his father, insisted, we need to do what is right for Aurora, not what is easy or what will protect our image. She deserves to grow up surrounded by love, not secrets. Let's find a solution together as a family. Grayson took Aurora's hand, and together they left the airport, leaving behind the weight of unspoken secrets and difficult decisions. Grayson's decision to no longer hide his sister, to bring Aurora openly into his life, was a courageous step towards an uncertain but hopeful future. He knew that the road ahead would be full of challenges, but the conviction that he was doing the right thing gave him strength. As they walked away, Natalie joined them, her heart heavy but determined to support Grayson's decision. They had a long road ahead, filled with the complexities of revealing the truth to their extended family and the community, but together they would face whatever came their way. Lincoln watched them leave, a mix of regret and relief washing over him. The secrets he had kept had caused immense pain, but there was now a chance for healing. He knew he had to find a way to rebuild the trust he had shattered, both with his family and with himself. The journey back home was filled with silent reflections and unspoken promises. Aurora, nestled between Natalie and Grayson, felt a sense of belonging she had never fully experienced before. The love surrounding her was palpable, and for the first time she felt truly hopeful for the future. Grayson and Natalie exchanged a look of understanding, knowing that their lives had been irrevocably changed. They would face the challenges ahead with honesty and courage, determined to build a life free from the shadows of hidden truths. Aurora's presence, her strength, and her innocence would be their guiding light as they navigated this new chapter together. Natalie, observing the interaction between Grayson and Aurora, felt a wave of emotion wash over her. Grayson's determination to protect and care for Aurora, to face the consequences of bringing the truth to light, touched her deeply. "I will help," Natalie said, her voice carrying a mix of determination and affection. "I will come back home, Grayson. We will take care of Aurora's health together." Her offer was a gesture of reconciliation, a promise of support, and a new beginning for them as a family. Aurora, holding Grayson's hand on one side and looking at Natalie with bright eyes of gratitude on the other, simply said, "Thank you." There was a simplicity in her gratitude, but the depth of emotion behind those words was profound. She was beginning to understand that she was surrounded by people who truly cared for her, who were willing to face adversities to ensure her well-being. When they arrived home, Grayson felt a sense of relief and renewal. "From now on, I won't hide my little sister anymore," Grayson stated, looking at Natalie and Aurora. "We will face whatever comes together as a family." Natalie, moved by Grayson's honesty and vulnerability, felt inspired by his strength. She knew that the road ahead would be difficult, that there would be obstacles and perhaps even external judgments. However, the promise of building a life together, of caring for Aurora as their own family, filled her with renewed hope. "We're in this together," she said, placing her hand on Grayson's, a gesture of unity and commitment. And so, at that moment, a new family began to form, a family not defined only by blood ties but by the shared commitment of care, love, and protection. Aurora, at the center of this circle of love, represented the promise of new beginnings and the certainty that no matter the adversities, they would find a way to overcome them together. As Grayson, Natalie, and Aurora adjusted to a new life together, full of hope and new promises, Lincoln faced the harsh consequences of his past actions. His revelation as an adulterer and father of a child out of wedlock shook the community that had always respected him, plunging him into the center of a scandal that challenged the integrity he had always preached. The situation was exacerbated by the fact that Aurora had health problems and Lincoln's intention to send her away, which increased the disappointment of the community, friends, and family. This revelation not only strained family relationships, but also placed Grayson in a difficult position, forcing him to choose between loyalty to his father and honesty with his wife, almost costing him his marriage. Lincoln found himself haunted by remorse, realizing the unfair burden he had placed on his son and questioning the values he wished to impart. He faced the wrath of a community that once held him in high esteem, a community now questioning his moral standing and integrity. The respect he had meticulously built over the years crumbled, leaving him to reflect on the true meaning of integrity and honesty. For the first time, he saw the pain his secrets had inflicted on those he loved and the damage it had done to his family. Grayson, meanwhile, grew stronger from the ordeal. His resolve to protect Aurora and rebuild his relationship with Natalie gave him a new sense of purpose. He realized that true strength lay not in hiding the truth, but in facing it head-on, no matter the cost. Natalie, by his side, provided unwavering support. Her forgiveness and willingness to start anew a testament to her strength and love. Together, they worked to create a nurturing environment for Aurora, ensuring she received the best medical care and all the love and support she needed. The challenges were numerous, but their bond grew stronger with each one they overcame. They learned that family is built not just on blood, but on the unwavering commitment to each other's well-being and happiness. As Lincoln watched Grayson, Natalie, and Aurora build a life grounded in truth and love, he understood the true cost of his deception. He began the slow process of redemption, seeking to atone for his mistakes and rebuild trust with those he had wronged. It was a long and arduous journey, but one he was determined to undertake. In the end, the ordeal brought unexpected blessings. It forged a deeper, more honest connection between Grayson, Natalie, and Aurora. It showed Lincoln the path to true integrity and the importance of living a life rooted in honesty. And for Aurora, it provided a stable, loving home where she could grow and thrive, surrounded by the unwavering love of her family. He began to understand that true redemption would require a profound transformation, not just facing the judgment of others, but also accepting and unconditionally loving Aurora, as well as repairing the damage caused to the most important relationships in his life. His wife, deeply disappointed by Lincoln's betrayal, represented a significant hurdle in his path to reconciliation. It was then that he decided to come clean in front of the congregation. Lincoln stepped forward, facing everyone's gazes. He took the microphone and addressed his wife with a sincerity she had not seen in years. "My dear, I have wronged you tremendously. I got involved with a sex worker. She left as soon as she had the child. I hid the truth out of fear of losing your respect and love, and the community's respect. But it has cost much more than I could have imagined. I apologize from the bottom of my heart." Then he spoke to the church members. "I have failed all of you. I have failed to live by the values I preach so much. Please accept my sincere apologies. I am committed to repairing the damage I have caused." For Grayson, the encounter was particularly charged. "Son, I placed on you a burden no father should impose. My actions almost destroyed your family, and for that I don't know if I can ever make amends, but I am here, asking for your understanding and forgiveness." Lincoln expressed, the pain in his eyes reflecting the sincerity of his words. Turning to Natalie, Lincoln acknowledged the impact of his choices. "Natalie, you have shown incredible strength and compassion. I lied to you, and yet you stood firm by Grayson and Aurora. I owe you a gratitude that words cannot express, and I humbly ask for your forgiveness," he said, gratitude mixed with remorse in his voice. Finally, kneeling before Aurora, Lincoln looked at his daughter with a new resolve. "Aurora, my dear daughter, I have failed you in ways that will take time to understand, but I want you to know that from now on, I will be present in your life, not as a shadow, but as your father who loves you unconditionally," Lincoln promised, his voice choked with emotion. "I will no longer hide you. You are part of who I am, and it's time everyone knows the wonderful daughter I have." Aurora looked at her father with gratitude and hugged him. She felt protected and embraced by him. After the confession, Lincoln's life was not the same. Despite his wife's forgiveness, Lincoln could no longer continue as a pastor and now works in the commercial sector. His story is proof that wrong decisions can lead to major upheavals in our lives. However, when we make the right choices, speak the truth, and reconcile with those we have hurt, we can start a new chapter in our lives. Grayson, Natalie, and Aurora began to settle into their new life. Their home, once filled with tension and secrets, now echoed with laughter and the warmth of family bonds. Grayson found a renewed sense of purpose, dedicating himself to ensuring Aurora's happiness and well-being. Natalie, by his side, provided unwavering support, her love and forgiveness a foundation upon which they rebuilt their lives. Aurora thrived in the environment of openness and love. Her health, still a concern, was managed with the best medical care, and her spirit remained undaunted. She brought a lightness to their lives, her presence a constant reminder of the strength and resilience of the human spirit. Lincoln, though no longer a pastor, found a new path in the commercial sector. His journey of redemption continued as he sought to repair his relationships and live a life of honesty and integrity. He remained a part of Aurora's life, fulfilling his promise to be a present and loving father. In time, the community, though initially shocked, began to see the changes in Lincoln and the genuine efforts he made to atone for his past. Respect, once lost, was slowly regained as people recognized the courage it took to admit his mistakes and strive for a better future. The story of Lincoln, Grayson, Natalie, and Aurora is a testament to the power of truth and the strength of familial bonds. It shows that even in the face of profound betrayal and hardship, love and forgiveness can pave the way to healing and new beginnings. Through their journey, they discovered that redemption is not just about making amends with others, but also about forgiving oneself and embracing the possibilities of a better tomorrow. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps me continue sharing amazing stories every day. Don't miss the next surprising story that now appears on your screen. Thank you very much for your support. See you soon. Thank you for joining us for this powerful and emotional story. A doctor received a call to attend to a 5-year-old girl. We hope that Lincoln's journey of redemption, Grayson's unwavering love for his sister, and the strength of their family have touched your heart as much as it has ours. We'd love to hear from you. What have you learned from this story? Please comment below with one thing you've learned and plan to bring into practice in your own life. Your insights are invaluable, and sharing them can inspire others to reflect and grow as well. If you liked this video, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Your support helps us continue to share amazing stories every day. Thank you for being part of our community, and see you soon.